however, by acknowledging that this Circus Talk Pro Talk is being hosted on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. In support of these relationships, I invite you to visit the Indigenous Performing Arts Alliance. It's IPAA.ca. IPAA provides leadership support, representation, advocacy, and practical assistance for the national development of Indigenous performing arts. Now, this is a Canadian organization because that's where I'm based. So, of course, you are welcome and encouraged to research, connect with, and support similar organizations in your region. I'm Stacy Clark. I'm the CEO of Circus Talk. I'm a white cis female in my early 50s, and I have shoulder length blonde hair and a sporty medium build, and I'm wearing a blue shirt today. Joining me for today's Pro Talk is Michael Rice, the executive producer and creator of the VIVA Fest in Las Vegas. So welcome, and I'm going to turn the baton right over to you, Mike, to tell us about yourself.
Hello, everybody. I thank everybody for showing up to want to listen to what I might have to say. My name is Mike Rice. I am a white male, middle-aged, short, probably an unusually large head for my age at this point, and just a regular guy getting through this business.
We're really happy to have you here. And what I'd love to do next, Mike, is have you tell us a little bit about your trajectory. I would expect that this is part of your own bio, but you were one of the original cast members of Mystere by Cirque Du Soleil. You have a background even preceding that, which we'd love to hear about. And then maybe explain in some detail the trajectory that you've had through the world of circus and performing arts.
Sure. Well, I am originally a Kansas boy from a small farm town in the middle of Kansas. I started out young doing gymnastics, and that gymnastics ended up leading to me to get a scholarship to the University of Oklahoma, where I was a member of the U.S. gymnastics team. I was on the world championship team. And from that, I knew that I liked acrobatic stuff. I knew I had always wanted to be in show business, not really knowing what that meant or how to get there from where I was. I mean, where I'm from and where I went to school, it's not really a hotbed for entertainment. So after college, I ended up moving to New York City with my wife. I tried every job I could find in show business. I thought I wanted to be a TV broadcaster. I thought I wanted to be, do movies. I wanted to do acting. And from then, after that, I got a call from some people I knew, and they said that there was a new show in Las Vegas. That show in Las Vegas was Siegfried and Roy. It had just opened, and they were looking for acrobats. So that was my chance to kind of jump into show business. And people that don't know, anybody younger probably doesn't know the history of Cirque du Soleil so much, but when we got there, we had Steve Wynn owned that hotel, and one night he came backstage at Siegfried and Roy and said, next week we're going to break ground on a new hotel, and we're going to bring in this new company called Cirque du Soleil. And from then, and right after that, they brought in Nouvelle Experience, one of their tent shows, to set up back of the Mirage. And shortly thereafter, they made an announcement that they were auditioning for Cirque du Soleil. And not having known what it was still kind of a new thing at that point. I went and saw the show and was mesmerized by the whole idea and thought that's what I wanted to do. And luckily from there, I auditioned and got into Cirque du Soleil. So I did Mystere. I was part of the original cast for Mystere. I did that for a number of years before stopping and starting my own business, where I created acrobatic entertainment. So I for years, I did corporate entertainment. I did small shows. I did every theme park on earth. We did everything in that regard. And years later, after I was getting a little bit older, I decided I wanted to start a circus show if I could, of some sort, not knowing what it would be. But I was finally at the point in my life where I was able to kind of do what I wanted to do. And I came up with the idea of starting this festival. But I know that internationally, other festivals are traditionally only for the upper levels. They're invite only professional type of events. And I knew in the US that probably wouldn't work from both a monetary point of view and just in making it work. And I knew that there were a lot of circus schools out there that were looking for ways of building their bases and building their schools and giving outlets for their participants to perform. And I've had a gymnastics facility here in Las Vegas for over 30 years now with my wife. So we're familiar with working with kids. So it was kind of an easy fit to build a youth event along with a professional event, because I had experience in both. And that's where it kind of brings us to today.
And you are in year what for VIVA Fest?
Well, COVID screwed us up really well for a couple of years, but this will be the 5th VIVA Fest over 7 years. So we had to shut down twice. And then even last year, the first number of years we did them in a tent. I have a tent, a circus tent where we worked in. And then last year, not knowing when COVID would, we still weren't even sure we'd be able to pull it off last year. And then maybe a month, 6 weeks out is when they finally got rid of most of the mask mandates, and then it opened it back up. So this year we're going to do the VIVA Fest again at my facility here, and then we'll see what happens in the future.
Amazing. So you have experienced both the athlete to artist, and then artist to creator, and then an evolution of creator now as executive producer of this event, which in a way is sort of full circle, coming back to what you've described, the next generation, the youth generation, the emerging talent, giving all of those future artists the opportunity to get themselves on stage in front of eyeballs, and importantly, in front of evaluative eyeballs, that is judges or panelists. I'd like to talk a little bit about that, because the very nature of circus when it's in show mode is not competitive. It's show, presentation, exchange with the audience, totally different vibe than the format of actually presenting a number that is then evaluated and ranked for awards. So talk to me a little bit about your philosophy around that, sort of what your approach is as it relates to the judging component.
This has always been a very hotly debated issue amongst circus people. I look at it both ways. I mean, I understand the realities of the business aspect of it, and I understand that it's also your artistic venture that you're taking on and presenting to people. But the one thing I think gets lost some of this time is there is a group of people that are still very reluctant to do the competitive aspect of it, because they consider it to be, their art, and they don't want to be judged for that. But in my opinion, I mean, the reality is that, if you're going to be at Cirque Du Soleil, it is a business. If you're going to get into a show, it is a business. If you're auditioning for a show, you are being judged. So you have to be willing, I think, to get out there and put yourself in front of people and be uncomfortable with what you do, and then get that feedback, whether it's a competition like I'm doing, or whether it's in front of auditioning for Cirque du Soleil, when you find out that, whether you make it or you don't make it, there's reasons for either side of it. And so particularly with younger people that really have these aspirations to get to a Cirque du Soleil or some big show out there, you have to be able to kind of get some guidance along the way. And, somebody like me, if I'm in Kansas, I didn't have many opportunities to get in front of somebody and get some feedback of where I need to go. So there's that aspect of it where I think it's just really important for people to kind of accept that, you can call it what you want, a competition or a performance, but regardless of whether or not I give you an award, you place, the whole business is competitive in that sense, and you have to be willing to do that. And on the second side of that, for younger groups, I think, especially for gym owners or circus places, when you're trying to keep your kids motivated, I mean, it's a long slog to go from being a young performer to getting into a show. And so how do you keep that motivation and you keep those goals alive, besides going and kind of seeing your peers in action, seeing how you go, you rank against everybody else, and also you get to see the originality or the variations of what you're doing, and you get to see other people's perspectives on it.
Yeah, there's some really key words in all of what you're saying, and I really appreciate that. The one that resonates is feedback. Going back to this notion of, if we can strip away the idea of judging in the judgmental sort of negative space and turn that around to the immense amount of learning that can come from feedback, then I think what you are offering is this amazing opportunity to young people to learn how to receive feedback. And then ideally, through the support of their training centers and their coaches, to implement that feedback and to interpret it and to make it their own in a meaningful way. And then eventually, for me, that becomes full circle. It actually also teaches them how to offer feedback, so that we're in a much more positive building space as compared to that potential connotation of judgment or judging, which can come off as negative.
Sure.
What's also interesting in what you're describing, I think, is the coming together, and this is what you guys have done really well, the coming together of all these training spaces, studios, circus schools, etc., so that people can get out of their own bubble. It's what you spoke of in your own intro, is that you sort of grow up through whatever channels you're used to, and in your own region, your own backyard. But by coming to this kind of event, getting to meet other people and see what they're doing, and certainly I'll tap into this a bit later, because full disclosure, I've been delighted to be a part of VIVA Fest since its inception, and I will again be there this year on the judging panel. But it's this idea of seeing the trends and creativity that comes from different parts of the country, what studios are doing what, and who's been evolving, and whose program is turning out some really wonderful work. So the coming together, the bringing together of all these people is a really, for me, that's a resounding success of such a festival.
Thanks. Yeah, for us, I mean, feedback has always been an important part, and we keep trying to refine that aspect of it. This year, we've decided that we're going to do split judging panels, so that each set of judges will have the time to actually give more informative feedback and really give a few good pointers for them in their performances, or what they liked, or you know, what they're seeing. Yeah, so that's that part of it. We're always trying to, we want it to be a positive experience. I mean, there's been a lot of I mean, especially in the gymnastics community, for anybody that knows anything about gymnastics, has been in a lot of turmoil lately with coaching and everything else, and a lot of sports in that regard. But my wife is on the US coaching staff for gymnastics, and we're adamant about making it positive. So we're not here to knock anybody down. We want people just to get good feedback and to understand kind of where they stand and where they're headed.
Amazing. What I think is evident, and I this is entirely a biased opinion, because I have some terrific colleagues who've been always alongside me on the jury panels, the people behind that desk want the artists to succeed. We want to be able to say and contribute and offer meaningful information to help the young artists grow, whether they're the very young student age category or the emerging on the cusp of stepping into a professional world. Really, as much as there comes with it this sort of title of being a judge or a jury member, the people that I sit shoulder to shoulder with absolutely are looking to boost every single artist on that stage, and we want everybody to succeed. And that is testament to the culture that you create at the festival as well, that this really is just
I've been
a winning,
surprised.
positive thing.
Right. I mean, I've really been surprised how many circus is such an odd little niche in the acrobatic world in that regard. And but it's surprising how many people to me are out there like yourself that are just supporting of the art form and the craft that it is and trying to push it forward and build what it is, and that's one of the good things about it, I think, is that if we have this competition, we bring people together, they all grow, and by your personal gym growing, it helps everybody grow, and it makes the art form grow also. So there's room for everybody, and if by seeing other members doing it, you get a chance to one, grow your business, and also grow the sport in general. Sport, or it's not really a sport, that's always a tough one, but the art form as it is.
Absolutely. The genre, there's so much interconnectedness because it's human performance after all.
Sure.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. I'd love to hear from you what you deem to be your biggest challenge in the organization and running of such an event.
Oh, that goes in a million different directions. Our biggest challenge right now is growing and how to grow. I mean, when I started this and hatched the idea, there's a lot of aerial competitions, festivals out there, but the one thing I really wanted to do was be inclusive of anybody. If you have an act, we welcome it here, and we want you to have a chance to show it and have people take a look. But in that makes an incredible challenge as far as organizing an event like this. This year we're going to be close to 500 acts, and the difference. I mean, a lot of acts, we're all sitting around a table trying to figure out what it is. How do you categorize what that is, and who do they compete against, or what grouping are they put into? I mean, of course, there's always a lot of basic aerial stuff, but there's some people that are trying to create new things, and we want them to be free to come here and do it also. So just the logistics of building a competition where we can get everybody in, and the biggest challenge we have is giving everybody a rehearsal time along with their competition time. And it takes up tons of time, and it basically limits how much we can do in a weekend. So in the future, we'll probably have to end up having multiple stages or something like that in order to grow any more than we are right now.
Well, it's nice to think that you have the scale up in mind, that this is something that is still on the upward trajectory toward growth. Just more and more opportunity, and we're seeing it across North America and well beyond, just the uptick in participation in the world of circus arts in general. So how great that you can stay a step ahead and continue to make space for all of the new and hopefully innovative and game-changing kind of work that's coming down the pipeline. I would like for you to give maybe a quick overview of what makes up the festival, because you have a number of different categories in which people can compete, but you also have a performance component to it, a professional angle. So maybe you can just give us an overview of what that all looks like.
Sure. When I first started putting together the idea of this festival, we came up with, we were going to do a student competition and a professional competition like you see in all other countries around the world. And so we opened it up and took submissions for our pro competition. And almost immediately we realized there was this mass of people that were submitting for the pro competition that might not necessarily be quite at the level of professional, but they wanted to be. So we came up with the idea of doing the emerging competition, which has ended up being probably the biggest aspect of the festival, which are for people that are trying to get that break into show business, but haven't quite gotten there. And for them, it's a great opportunity. We have a lot of professionals that are offering internships, scholarships, job offers, and it's their chance to kind of make that transition from amateur to a professional to working. And then along the way, we added novice also, because I think that that's something that's important Mostly for programs out there that offer circus. I know that there's a lot of little kids that have dreams of getting on a stage. There's not that many opportunities. So our novice competition is just for beginner, early people that are just getting started and they want to get out there and perform. And then from there, the pro competition it's grown also. I mean, it's what we've tried to do. You look at some of the festivals around the world and the different, Cirque du Soleil or Monte Carlo, these things, you kind of look at what their brand is on what they do. And we're still working on what our brand is, I think, but I really want to really invite new, different, creative acts that are of a high level. So that's really where we're at right now. So we'll have our couple professional competitions, and then this year we're going to do a Viva Variety after hours, because one of the other things that I find is there's a lot of people that submit to the festival that don't really fit either any of those categories, and they're mature acts, they're burlesque acts. And for a lot of them, we want people to come in and experiment with more adult stuff also. So we're going to offer that and see how that goes this year.
Amazing. All part of the growth plan.
Let's hope. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I do say, just from my personal perspective, that I love the emerging artist category. It's really exciting to see people who are hovering on the precipice of professional life and what's to come. So can you tell us just a little bit more about, if not so much the awards and the prizes, because we know there's tremendous value in that, and certainly a great sense of accomplishment to be named as an award winner, beyond, although to be fair, I put that in a category of bonus because I think the experience supersedes all of that. But you mentioned also the kind of people who are there watching, the kind of people who are in casting positions, decision-making decisions for job opportunities. Tell me a little bit about those opportunities for the emerging artists.
Well, we've grown a lot. Now we're hoping this year to have most of the major producers of acrobatic entertainment, at least in Las Vegas, present here. We'll have people from Spiegel World, from Cirque du Soleil. We're hoping to have people from Dragon, and then a bunch of smaller producers. And then outside of town, of course, you have Flynn Creek's, a lot of smaller circuses. Lone Star Circus will be part of it this year. I know I'm going to forget a bunch of people. Ida Cruise Line. So there's people coming and they're looking at talent. So, and then we'll have Renee Massey from America's Got Talent. She will be here looking at acts also for some different stuff for what they're trying to cast. So it just depends on what each individual production company is looking for, but it's a great opportunity to be seen and kind of meet people and get to know some of the people within the industry.
And I'll do a little addendum here for those artists with us now or ultimately listening after the fact. When those kinds of people are in the room, and I'm delighted to count myself among them. I'm a freelance casting director and have active projects on the go. Come talk to us. I think it's really important to feel comfortable to present yourself, being of course super respectful of everybody's busy schedules and time, but this is the kind of opportunity, this kind of event where we've all come together. It's the perfect opportunity to come and introduce yourself. And if the opportunity presents and you know that person's had a chance to see you perform, then you can invite feedback. This is part of how it is that you grow and evolve and understand what the market's looking for. Now, the caveat is that sometimes it's tricky. It's tough maybe to sort of gain the confidence to go and introduce yourself to somebody you don't know personally. Sometimes schedules don't always allow for lengthy discussions, but I think that at least breaking the ice is what these kinds of events really afford you the chance to do. So use the fact that there's really keen people in the room, people who want to support your future career.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, relationships are very important in any business, but within show business, they're very important, of course. And regardless of whether or not you are necessarily ready or what they're looking for at that moment, getting to know them, having a familiar face, I tell people that, for me personally, when I was booking stuff in the past, I tended to book people that I liked working with, or that were easy to work with, that are accessible, that are open to ideas. And so it's really important in order to be able to grow, I think, and to be, if you want to work constantly, you want as many relationships and connections as you can as you go.
Excellent advice. Those are terrific golden nuggets. What I'd like to do at this point, and if you're game, Mike, unless you have anything else you want to throw out there for us, I'm going to invite questions.
Okay.
You ready for that? So folks, this is your chance to actually warm up for those live interactions that you're going to do when you're in attendance at VIVA Fest this year. So feel welcome to throw your cameras on so we get to see your talking head. And if you have a question, then I'm going to invite you to raise your digital hand so I can call upon you. Somebody's got to be the icebreaker. There's always that first person who sets the tone for everybody else to come. And you can go ahead and ask your question. So yay, Felicity, hand goes thrown up into the air, the digital hand. Come off mute and ask your question.
All right. Hi, I have a very practical question. As someone who oversees a circus school, I would love to see our students starting to do this. And we haven't historically had a big showing at VIVA Fest. We've had some individuals here and there, but I'd love to see especially students in our youth circus starting to go. And so for me, one of the big practical concerns is calendar, right? Like it's got to fit into our calendar and it's got to be like, so I'm wondering, when are you going to announce the dates for next year so that we can build it right into our calendar?
We have, that's been a challenge for us every time. What we've historically, the first number of years we did them in a tent. So it didn't really matter. And I really tried to kind of look at other festivals, competitions that were going on. And we set up the first few years in February in a tent, and it rained like crazy the entire weekend. And if you know Las Vegas, there's no grass here. So everybody's just slopping around in mud the whole time. So then the next years we moved it late. We moved to April. And that was pretty good. But for me, especially after COVID, what we did was, because of COVID and we were going to use my facility, we used it as spring break. That's when I can shut down my entire gym and turn it into a theater. So we've done it on spring break. So last year we did it in April. This year they moved spring break to this coming weekend. For this festival's weekend. So that's where we've been. In the future, I don't know. I have a couple things in the mix where I'm trying to make a deal with the city where I can maybe do a bigger event in a bigger facility and make it into a much bigger festival overall. But those things are all, if anybody knows Vegas is booked years in advance. So trying to schedule an event and make it viable that way is a challenge for sure. But if you guys, anybody that has suggestions, or if somebody says, what is great for us, we're certainly willing to take it into account.
Thanks, Felicity. Jessica, you're up.
Hi there. I was wondering if you have specific time designated in the festival for networking events.
We will have, networking in what regard? We don't have anything as like, we had tried to do it before, and we discussed doing like a mixer kind of a thing where it's just kind of a little, stand around and meet the people involved. That's always been hard to do. We are going to have a number of different circus schools and groups like CircusTalk that'll do presentations as a way of networking with those particular people. But otherwise, our most of it is based on when our shows are. Like the pro show is a time for people to come and hang out. Everybody will be there. Same with our late night shows. That's a time where all of the same producers will be there in a more casual setting, and you could get to know people.
Great. And those presentations, are those open for anybody
They
to
will-
register to, or you just show up, or?
Yeah, they're still being finalized right now to figure out everybody that's going to do it. It'll probably be almost in a roundtable type of setting where people that from different groups will come in, and then you'll have a chance to talk and see. And they'll be up on our workshop schedule pretty quickly.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
That's a perfect segue. Before I go to Mr. Ocampo for your question, I saw your hand up earlier.
Hi.
Tell us about the workshops. I'm just gonna get Mike to speak a little bit to the workshops because there's an interesting segue there.
Yeah,
What can
actually-
people expect in the workshop schedule?
This year we're offering a lot more workshops in a lot of different fields. I mean, one of the things that is important to me as a festival goes is to try to introduce people to acts that they might not have had access to or seen or been able to participate in before. So anything from teeterboard, we're gonna have the King Charles Troupe is gonna be teaching unicycle this year. We will have, we're gonna mix up a lot of different things and try to, because one of the things I think that's if I can play any role in it is a lot of what circus is that is headed this way, especially among schools, is as aerial tends to be the direction for everything. So when we're putting together the festival or I'm looking for acts, 90+% of everything we get is aerial. And one of the hardest things to do if you want to work in the business is to be an aerialist, because there's just so much competition now, right? So we want to offer people the opportunity to work on a lot of different acts. And then there's a lot of acts also that I think that maybe are getting lost to history, that just there's a tendency to go down this road now where everybody's doing the same thing, a lot of the same thing. And if we can give people this access to find, if maybe it's sear wheel or it's level wand or whatever we're going to have, if we can do those things, we'd like to do it. So this year we're offering a lot of different aerial ones, of course, and then a lot of floor-based acts as we can, and also some performance things. Working on your acts. Stacy's going to do workshops with people also. So there's going to be a lot of offerings, and I hope people take the chance to kind of go out there and just try a few new things and see if they like it.
Love that. Perfect segue. Levy Wand.
Hi. Yes. So apparently, I'm doing a workshop for VIVA Fest Levy Wand. It's a new and emerging art, so it combines circus, magic, and dance. But actually, I like, Mike, that you touch on comparing VIVA Fest to other circus festivals in Europe, because I notice in Europe it's more like circus festivals are more like competitions and award show. And I'm like, now I'm seeing VIVA Fest as more like educational and nurturing new and emerging artists. How do you like word the mission or the thrust of VIVA Fest?
I mean, I guess my overall goal would be to actually nurture from both ends, right? I understand that the professional aspect of it is what everybody is heading towards, and so we knew from the beginning we always wanted to have that be part of it, where people can come see the best of the best from around the world, different acts. But I also know, especially in the US and North America, it's a little different. We don't have a lot of government help with any of our businesses, so a lot of circus schools are out there trying to make a business out of it also, and so I wanted to be able to do something. I'm neutral ground, I guess, for any circus school. And so I wanted to have an event where everybody felt free to come here and show their kids. And I know there's been some reluctance initially, but I think people are coming around to it nowadays. But it's good for everybody. If it's good for your school, it's going to be good for the art form. It's going to be good for the whole group. And I would really like to to same deal with the workshops like we're talking about now. A lot of times, I mean, one of the hardest things I know with teaching circus is that it is very varied in the sense that, you know, just because you're a great at level one, you probably would have a hard time maybe teaching teeterboard, right? So having people that are specialists in those kind of things is hard to come by. So having a chance here where we're all in one place and you can see if you like it, and then maybe that's something that an individual school will decide they want to find a way to offer that also in their curriculum. Did I answer that? Hopefully.
Yes, thank you. I like that the overarching goal of the festival for you.
Oh, thank you.
All right, folks. I know there's at least a couple performers on the line with us here. So I'm going to rattle on for a minute or two, just giving you a chance to come back on screen and to pose a question. This is actually your practice ground for reaching out to the very people that might be quite influential down the road in your future career. Go for it, Jessica.
I could come up with lots of questions. I'd like to hear more about the criteria of the individual like levels, I guess, of the festival. Just because I've had students that have asked me about it, and I myself is just sort of like, I just find the website kind of confusing, and maybe that's my impatience with websites too. I don't know, but like if somebody were to apply into a category that was maybe not appropriate for them, would you then nudge them into the right one?
That's been a challenge for us from the beginning. Kind of like what I talked about earlier. When we started the festival, we had a pro and a student, and then we realized that a lot of people that felt they were pro probably weren't quite ready for showtime. And that's been this balance we've been trying to keep since the beginning. You know, what is the criteria for novice? What is the criteria for student? What is the criteria for emerging? And the problem with that is it's very hard to create a set of rules or guidelines that a lot of people might want to adhere to. Because there's always going to be people that are probably emerging that maybe should still be in student or whatever that might be. Some emerging people are already working and they want to be seen and they want to be in the business. We talked about in the past creating for say student category tissue, you know, do we create a skill set that says this is a requirement within that genre of acts, you know, that the people then can look at and go, oh, okay, I know I'm student. The problem is within circus, and I think this is changing and will change, but the problem within all of this is that if you're in Mexico or you're somewhere else, what you consider a trick is not the same for anybody else. I mean, this is an artistic venture. People are creating new stuff all the time. So we're still kind of straddling the fence of what is a direct criteria. We don't make anybody, except for the pro, we don't have anyone, you know, send us videos for their acts, and we critique them and say, this is where we think you should be. And frankly, I mean, like anything with acts, I mean, I always use juggling as an example. There's some of the greatest jugglers out there that do 3 balls. You know, they have a great act, but they're not doing a 7-ball juggling act or something like that. So how do we create criteria? We're always looking for feedback and ideas in that regard, but so far it is kind of a loose or open kind of self-critique of what level you think you are.
Because also having that list of skills kind of pushes everyone to do more of the same stuff too. And that's not what
well, I mean, when I first started, I took a lot of heat about, you know, this isn't gymnastics. This isn't what we do. But also I know that, I mean, there's a reason why sports have levels too, and again, we're talking about, is it a sport, whatever it is, but when you're coming up through something, you like to move, kids want to be motivated. They want to have goals. They want to be able to move up. They want to be able to, so I think it's great as a business perspective for people, for kids to have new things to work for each year. They're going to move up. On this year, I'm going to be an emerging, but how we define that is still a bit of a challenge for us also.
Thank you.
I would add my 2 cents to say that if you do have suggestions, clearly Mike and the team is really open to letting that continue to evolve. And it is, it sounds kind of nebulous, but it's that very curious hybrid of athleticism and artistry that is circus that makes it so hard to qualify and to regulate and put into boxes and columns. So, one option is participate, and then you'll start to take the pulse and figure out where you fit in relative to everything else that's happening with the participants who are a part of that festival.
Right. And it doesn't matter whether, in gymnastics, something that's as structured as could possibly be, you still have people saying, they're just holding their kids back so that they can win at that level. So there's no perfect answer, no matter how we did it. But you're right. I think it is get in there and try and look at it as more of an experience, an opportunity to perform in front of people, and the placings and the awards. That's all a secondary to the idea of doing what your goal to do is to get on a stage and perform.
Nice. Thanks. I'm going to jump to Emily because your video's on, and then Kelsey, you're going to be next, so you can pop onto video after.
I'm a student in Norway, and I'm currently working on all my audition tapes and stuff for the different circus schools. And I find, excuse me, my cat is. I find it all a bit overwhelming. I think to me, it's very new, and it kind of did touch a bit on it, but I don't know where to start and how to sort everything, and it's all so much. I have a bunch of questions, but I don't know what questions to ask.
Well,
yeah.
No, go ahead. Pick one and we can go from there for sure.
Yeah. I do cerebral, so that's the first thing. Is it even a discipline that is possible to do? I know it's a big room discipline, so I don't know if that is a place or something I should go for.
Are you talking about from your own? You're talking about what act you should take to a festival, or you're just asking if Sear Wheel is some? We of course we take Sear Wheel. We have it's still a growing thing. Also, this year we're going to do Sear Wheel workshops here, but we also have there's a number of performers. We have one of our professional competitors for the WCAC is a Sear Wheel act from Japan. So yeah, we try to offer everything. We want everybody to come and try it. If that's what your question is, or if your question is a Sear Wheel a good act to be bringing, that's a question for you, I guess.
Yeah. No, I guess the thing I'm just curious about is when it comes to festivals and stuff, just where do you start? If you want to perform at festivals, how do you get started with that?
A good demo tape.
Yeah.
A good demo tape.
A good demo tape.
Yeah. Now, Mike touched on this earlier, that in the student category, that is a self-selection, if I understand correctly. That is not something that is evaluated and vetted and slotted in. Other festivals, and also in the category of emerging, VIVA Fest will be making, they review video submissions. I have that correct, right, Mike?
We don't, the only thing that we don't, only for the pro do we really do video submissions that we pick from. And the thing is that you have to consider, for me putting together, or any of the bigger festivals in Europe, when they're a professional selection type of event, they're making twofold. They're making a circus competition of sorts, but they're also making a show. So when I'm putting it together, I'm looking for a variety of acts, aerial, floor-based. I want a balancing act. So we're trying to fill in cover all the bases for circus. So when you're talking about getting selected for a professional competition or a show like that, it's twofold. You have to, one, kind of fit the slot that they're trying to fill, and then you have to be the original one that stands out. The great thing about SEER or something like that is that those are generally, there's less submissions. So probably your odds are higher, as opposed to if you're doing an aerial straps act, there's 200 of them submitted each time, and then you're trying to find something different from what that you've seen in the past.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Emily, I'll invite you, if you have more questions that are still taking shape in your brain, to send me an email. I'm quite happy to answer you directly. If you have some stuff that is in the category of how do I start? Where do I even start? So do feel welcome. And for anyone really in that same headspace, because I assure you, you're not alone. This is a common refrain that I hear from a lot of young artists. Shoot me a note and I'll do my very best to answer in a timely fashion. And you can reach me at stacy@circustalk.com. So go through the platform, you'll find me easily. Send word. I know sometimes
Thank you
it
very
takes
much.
a while to actually get the questions formulated appropriately.
And don't be afraid to just go out there and give it a try. I mean, for like our event, for sure, in an emerging, you could bring your act and try it as it is. And that's one of the things we really want to encourage, is people trying new things. We had a person doing hand balancing on what was it called? the electric
The
hoverboard. I mean, we're looking for, and the thing is with that is that I know it's uncomfortable for people to kind of put out their creativity on a stage, but you never know who's going to be there watching and is looking for particularly what you're doing. So it's a great opportunity.
Great, thank you very much.
Sure.
Kelsey, jump in.
Morning, you guys. How are you? So I had a question regarding the artistry part of it. I did an audition pretty recently, and then also in submitting for one of these competitions. In your opinion, what level, let's say, what percentage would you value harder skills versus creative skills versus artistic abilities? So more like movement and the way that you move versus, let's say, so I know you mentioned straps. I do straps. Is the harder skills more highly valued as someone who's hiring, or would more the artistic ability be more important for you guys, in your opinion?
At a professional level, right?
Any level, yeah.
I mean, for our student part of the competition, we try to weight it, the judging in a way that works on those things. And but as we get to the professional level, artistry is of course important, because in the end, your client, whoever it is, the producer, is looking for the whole package. And like I said before, a lot of times, I mean, I see a lot of acts these days. I watch a lot of videos, and everybody that's in, well, I shouldn't say everybody, but the people that are booking for bigger events, Cirque du Soleil, any of those people that are in it, they know the skill set that you have. They're going to know that you have a high skill set. They know what the main tricks are that you're going to do. And then really you're looking for the individual and the performer, from my perspective, and something different. I mean, that's the thing. There's so much of the same these days.
Yeah.
That, I mean, we had this issue with the festival in the beginning. The first number of years, we're looking at, in the pro competition, there's always a duo aerial straps act, and it's going to win most of the time. And then you're looking at, and you think about it, and that's kind of a weakness of these types of events, is that it's very hard to judge. I mean, if you're the best juggler in the world, it's really hard to get through anything without dropping once. But if you're doing an aerial act, you can't drop once. So because then it's a disaster. So the odds are you're going to do better, generally speaking. You're not going to have mistakes. So yeah, I think really it's more about what you're presenting at your level, as opposed to, and for me especially, I'm always looking for something that I haven't seen much of in the past.
Okay.
But
Very
somebody
cool.
like Cirque du Soleil is probably looking at your skills in general, and they know everything about them, and they're gonna pick you appropriately that way.
Okay. And then do you mind me asking, I know that that's mostly for competition, but as well for hiring for jobs, would you guys recommend similar things as well, where it's present more your artistic abilities versus skills, or like let's say you had 1 minute to show something, what, in
Yes,
your
is the
opinion, what
answer.
would you present? Okay, similar.
Yes to
Perfect.
both.
Okay.
Mike is spot on that at that professional level,
Mhm.
it's about what's unique and different, which tends to be manifested through the manner in which you do the thing, not just the thing you're doing.
Okay.
So your style, your approach, your transitions, all of that, which also includes very distinct choices with your artistry and your choreography.
Okay.
And to his point, the technical level is going to be understood by the professional eyes in the business, but it's not just that. There's always the understanding that, yes, in terms of your execution and your delivery, you are confident and capable of doing it in a professional space up to 10 shows per week, let's say, not just hit or miss. But it's the manner in which you do it. It's the whole package, just like Mike said. And that for me goes to the lens I look through in a competition environment, as well as a casting selection process or an audition. It's
Okay.
really the happy marriage of both.
Okay. That's good to know. Thank you guys. I appreciate your
And I can
answers.
tell you one other thing with that too, is that when you're trying to make, when you're submitting your videos to people, there's a tendency, I think, for some people to give a highlight reel of your tricks, or a quick cuts and edits and a fancy edits. And really the people that are looking and making the decisions, I mean, they know what they're looking at. And so for me, I would rather just see what you do, and don't be afraid to show what you have, and you don't have to worry about being glitzy and, you know, with the quick edits and close-ups or anything like that. It's really just about the act as it is,
Okay.
from my perspective.
Yeah.
Amazing advice, Mike. Is exactly, I share that opinion entirely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Good luck.
We are wrapping out. We're at the top of the hour, so I'm gonna just canvass the field for one last question. If Mike, you can entertain us for another minute or two, and then we will respectfully bid you adieu, and hopefully see some of these names and faces live and in person in Las Vegas next month. Any final questions for Mike? All right. Quiet. Hopefully that means that you have had some of your, oh, there's one. Fire away.
So I think with Mike's goal with the festival, like it's connecting, exchange, like education, would you consider like offering online resources for those who are considering participating in the future, like Emily, who is in Norway? Maybe she doesn't have access to a circus school or a coach. Would you like also in that respect also, do you consider offering like an online viewing of your previous competitions, so that, you know, like everyone is asking what's a novice, what's an emerging, and what level is the pro level at?
For sure, especially this year, that since we've grown so much. In the future, I will be putting together more we'll put together some highlight reels of each level so that people can kind of look and self-assess through that, so they can kind of see the skills that exist. As far as the online resource, I mean, of course we're going to be videoing everything. We'll make some type of promotional reel afterwards, but as far as the resources go, I mean, a group like CircusTalk is far better at that than I am. I'm more than happy to provide anything I have. If anyone has any questions or about what my opinion would be, I'm happy to give it, and I'm happy to give it to anybody who wants to ask. But and I would be happy to put anything we have up online if you know, if somebody told me what they wanted and how they needed to see it, I'd be happy to do it.
Thank you. Actually, just like even like list of links of resources, like, oh, visit CircusTalk for more insights about the circus world and all that stuff.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. Thanks.
And it's a nice thing for us to conclude on, because indeed we do invite you to visit CircusTalk, and specifically I invite you to visit our new career lab, which is very much tapping into just what you're describing, and hopefully the very nature of questions that many of you have as you enter in or live through the experience of being a professional in this industry. So thank you everybody live and yet to come who are going to watch us after the fact, and very special thanks to our collaborator Mike Rice, executive producer of VIVA Fest. I'm looking very much forward to being a part of that and hopefully seeing lots of you and being able to say hello to you again, Mike, in person. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, everybody, and I hope you got something out of it.